Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media.
Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to the Upper East Fork of the Indian River, about 60 miles north of Glen Allen, Alaska. The elevation is moderate and varied, with valley bottoms starting at around 3,500 feet high and peaks soaring to almost 6,000 feet. The climate here is subarctic, with long, cold winters and short, warm summers. Often known as boreal forests, subarctic climates are known for their seasonal beauty and ruggedness. The trees here are diverse, with 3 types of spruce, 2 types of oak, 2 types of maple, and 3 types of pine, birch, poplar, and aspen. The undergrowth is often dense and crowded with alder, lilac, and vine maple pockets, bringing visibility down to only a few feet. Animals here include wood bison, caribou, Dall sheep, with moose meandering the meadows and muskeg. The predators here are a specialized and formidable group. They include wolverines, 5 subspecies of wolf, Canadian lynx, black bears, and grizzly bears. 33-year-old Nicholas Kuperus hailed from Nunica in western Michigan. He was an avid outdoorsman, and after a friend moved to Alaska, had a great reason to visit. The friends developed a plan for a moose hunt in September of 2022, but couldn't possibly have anticipated the events that would transpire. On Tuesday, September 6, 2022, the hunting buddies parked their four-wheelers near the Upper East Fork of the Indian River. Moose hunting involves a lot of walking and glassing. The huge ungulate antlers can be seen from hundreds of yards away if the sun catches them just right, so using binoculars to find them is a common technique. Keeping an eye on the breeze and where it takes your scent is critical, and being quiet while you stalk is essential. After parking the four-wheelers, Nicholas's friend, whom we'll call Kevin, began walking down a trail to find a place to watch for moose. As Kevin walked silently along the trail, a fickle breeze kicked up and swirled his scent up the hill through the brush. A short distance away, an alert sow grizzly was tending her 3 cubs and picked up his scent. Now here is where I have to ask, what happens when everyone involved does the right thing? A grizzly should run from people whenever possible. People should pack deterrents to ward off an attacking grizzly. But just because everyone involved in a scenario does the right thing, doesn't mean it always ends well. When the sow winded Kevin, she did the best thing a bear can do. She rounded up her cubs and dashed through the brush in a mad attempt to escape. The only problem was she was running directly toward Nicholas. As Nicholas was walking down the trail, he heard loud crashing in the bushes in front of him. Hoping it was a moose, he stared in the direction of the noise. Just a few yards in front of him, a huge sow and her 3 cubs suddenly appeared on the trail. Nicholas yelled out to warn her of his presence, hoping to avoid a confrontation with the massive bear. Before he could react, she turned and raced directly toward him. Nicholas could see the energy transfer through her fur and muscle with each bound she took. Her claws dug into the soil as she stared intensely into his eyes. As she closed in on him, he groped his pockets for his bear spray. When she was about 20 feet from him, he pressed the button, releasing a billowing orange cloud of the irritant, and hoped it would be enough to stop her. Nicholas watched in horror as the sow ran through the cloud, and he screamed for help. He lifted both arms in a subconscious sign of surrender to her power and an inadequate attempt at protecting himself. He hoped she would veer off at the last second, but she didn't. Although he had dispensed his bear spray properly, it didn't take effect on the sow quickly enough to prevent her from attacking him. As soon as she could reach him with her jaws, she clamped down on his hand without slowing down. The force of her movement jerked Nicholas around, and she spun to continue her attack on him. The sow was irate and attacked to protect her cubs from a threat. She punched her canines through his hands, in turn, as he offered each of them to keep her at bay. She swatted him on the shoulder and clamped her jaws onto his shoulder so quickly that he couldn't move before she had done it. In a blindingly fast and violent attack, the sow bit Nicholas several times on each arm, hand, and shoulder. Her attack was only stopped when Kevin suddenly appeared and fired his pistol in her direction. The sow backed up a few steps and glanced around, searching for her cubs. Finding them safe, she turned and disappeared with them into the brush. Kevin ran to Nicholas's side and examined his wounds. Nicholas had no wounds to his head or neck, but the holes all over his arms and hands were seeping large amounts of blood. Now these two men were not ill-prepared to go into the Alaskan backcountry. Kevin knew he needed to get medical help very quickly, or Nicholas might go into shock, or worse, the bear may return. Kevin searched through his backpack and retrieved a satellite-based communications device. Contacting emergency services stimulated Alaska wildlife officers to respond to the crisis. The troopers rounded up a state-owned PA-18 Super Cub airplane and immediately set off, loaded with medical equipment. Upon arrival at the GPS coordinates from Kevin's device, they pulled off a highly technical landing on the ridge just above the moose hunters. The emergency response team made their way down the hill to the hunter's location. After rendering first aid to slow the bleeding from his wounds, they packed him back to the plane and flew toward Glen Allen. Once approaching town, the flight crew landed near a waiting ambulance that had been notified of the attack ahead of time. Upon arriving at the local hospital, the medical team examined numerous puncture wounds on Nicholas's hands, arms, and shoulders. They stitched up the larger wounds and bandaged him all over. There is no source indicating that he received antibiotics or pain medicine, but it is safe to assume that he had significant doses of each. As for the grizzly sow and her cubs, her behavior was deemed defensive by investigators. She didn't stalk Nicholas or try to bury him. She didn't threaten Kevin after he arrived. She simply took her cubs and left after disabling what she thought was a possible threat to her and her cubs. No action was taken against the sow or her cubs following the attack on Nicholas. The state of Alaska is host to 30,400 brown bears and grizzly bears. It accounts for almost 30% of all fatal bear attacks in the United States, and the vast majority of these occurred in the backcountry and to hunters specifically. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. What do you think the cubs learned after witnessing the sow maul Nicholas? What do you do when you do everything right and it still doesn't prevent a bear attack? What could have happened to Nicholas had Kevin not shown up? I will gladly read and respond to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it.
Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.